everyone, welcome back to another episode of Stripped by Sia, your podcast for strippers, sex workers, and all the fancy naked people in between. I am your host, Sia on camera. You can find me online on your various paid adult platforms. I've been in the industry for over a decade, starting off as a sugar baby many moons ago, and then working my way throughout different corners of sex work, including stripping. I've been doing a lot of online work lately. I'm kind of semi-retired from dancing now, so stop asking me where you can find me because I really don't think I'll be dancing anymore. But sometimes you might be able to find me, but you'll have to dig kind of hard to find that information. But I have been doing the show since 2019, bringing my different friends and folks on in the industry to talk about sex work and to destigmatize the industry one conversation at a time. So I do that by bringing different people on in the industry, whether they're on-screen talent. We have people from nonprofit organizations. We have a lot of people that advocate for sex worker rights. We have producers. We have people from behind the scenes. So really a vast amount of people from different perspectives to thoroughly and accurately paint an accurate portrayal of what sex work is without the sugarcoating, without the glamorization and sparkly TikTok filters and all of that stuff. So I do that because I really want to try to educate folks on the industry and also give people in our industry a humanization, like a humanized approach to sex work, because I think a lot of times the industry forgets that we're human and we're not just, inflatable sex bots all the time. There's actually people behind the work that we do and behind all your favorite films and stuff like that. So this week is no different. I actually have two people joining me today, which is really, really exciting. We'll be talking about the need for space, and we're talking about personal space, space in the professional as well, talking about the need for community, talking about the need for support, and how that differs, in the beginning when you first start in the industry, and like what that might look like now after you've been in the industry for a few years, and what that all looks like. So I do have two esteemed guests that I'm sure a lot of folks will be very excited to hear about. But before we get started, we are going to just quickly say hello to our Patreon subscribers. Thank you guys for always supporting, for a few years now. I really, truly appreciate your support. For those who don't know what Patreon is, it's a way that you can subscribe and also financially help support your favorite creators. Myself being a podcaster, it's really cool to see that you guys are finding value in the show. It's been a free, resource that I've been pumping out like episodes every single week. So I appreciate that you guys find value in it. And if you're looking for a bit more than what you can publicly hear about on your favorite podcast platforms, you can find some bonus episodes. So those include just some outtakes from some of my earlier episodes. We also have guest lectures that I do at universities when I'm speaking about sex work in the academic environment. We have like lots of sneak peeks in terms of like who's coming onto the show, what kind of topics I'm hoping to try to tackle, people I'm trying to find to fill certain topics up. Lots of great goodies on there. So if you are interested, you can check it out. It's patreon.com/strippedbysia. And we have different tiers there, starting at as low as $4 a month. And to be transparent, all of your funds are going towards helping fund my website, which is strippedbysia.com, where you can find all the episodes there. And also if I'm ever attending any adult industry events, because those always, there's a cost to everything. So that's exactly where your money is going. So again, please join us on the platform. It's patreon.com/strippedbysia. Just want to say a quick hello to those who are on the top tier there. You guys are from all over the world, which is really, really cool. We've got Snoo from Germany. We've got Geyser. We've got Eric Arajo. We've got Bia York from Seattle. McKenna King from Ottawa. We've got Red Door Products. Dan, hello, from Seattle. We've got Dale Flood from Vancouver, BC, Canada. We've got Raina from Sweden. And we've got Ruby from Victoria, BC in Canada as well. So it's really, really cool. You guys are all from all over the place, which I think is so great. So come join us. There's lots of great goodies you can find over there. And that's all I'm going to say about that. I know we've been really excited. We have our guests patiently waiting for us in the wings right now. You may or may not be familiar with their work. You might not be familiar with them. I feel like a lot of you folks are very familiar with their work. We've got Ameena Green and Willow Ryder joining us today. So very excited to have these, very big adult content creators and they're adult porn stars in the industry to join me. They're also roommates in real life too, so we will even be talking about physical space too and their own personal needs with that. But we have a lot to talk about today. I just want to go ahead and everyone, please welcome Ameena and Willow Ryder on the show today. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Thanks so much for joining me, you guys. I know it's like we're like, should I speak at this time? I don't want to like be stepping on people's toes, but it's really great for you guys to join us today and to hear about your journeys and also talk about how we're able to navigate the space, navigate this wild industry that we're in. But I would love, like, I just did a super brief introduction in terms of like, you're both adult content creators, you're both adult film stars as well. I'd love for both of you to kind of describe yourselves in your own words and terms. And whoever wants to start, feel free to take the mic. I'll pass it over to you guys.
Oh, so I would say I'm just super spunky and outgoing. I love my job and just being open-minded and being able to try things safely with my sexuality. Um, yeah, in my free time, I love to work out and push myself. So, yeah, pretty much it.
Uh,
Ameena?
and I would also consider myself probably pretty spunky, pretty quirky. Um, I love all forms of sex work. I started probably sex work when I was like around 19. I was dancing in the club, so like stripping in Chicago and all over Illinois and a little bit of Iowa, which I know is really random. And then from there started to do a little bit of content creation and take it a little bit more like seriously while I was looking for a job. But because that started taking off, I got reached out to by my previous agency, in which they asked if I'd like to do adult film. And I was like, yeah. And I'm really happy I'm doing it because I'm scared of 9 to 5s. I hate the corporate world. So I
Mm-hmm.
also love my job. And I'm really happy to be here. And also just super exciting to be able to see the ways in which, especially content creation in adult film, is changing and how intertwined it is and how it's, I guess, changed over the years and how it's continuing to change. So very cool job in the sense of that as well.
hmm
For sure. And we'll definitely talk a little bit about that too, in terms of like content creation and the side of things. But like also, Willa, would love to hear too, like your origin story. I know fans and people are always interested. Like, how did you get started? I'd love to hear a little bit about you as well.
Yeah, so before I joined the industry, I was an esthetician. So I worked with skincare, waxing, things like that. I started out by seeing clients. I was doing that on the side just to make some extra money, and I really enjoyed that process. So I started to do more research online and with ways to make money. So I came across sexyjobs.com and I met someone that told me like, "Hey, would you ever think about doing mainstream work?" That never had crossed my mind just because I was always scared to put myself out there online and be that vulnerable. But yeah, I thought about it for a couple months and I made the jump to do mainstream and here I am.
Yay!
Yeah.
We have not looked back since, right?
No.
Nice, nice. I mean, both of you guys had like, very interesting starts to your careers. I mean, both of them came out of like, we need a job, right? We need money. Like, obviously, money makes the world go round. We need it to, pay for our rent, our accommodations, to live, right? So, coming into the industry, I know, Willow, you mentioned you waited a few months before kind of diving in. did you do any kind of prior research before kind of going into the work, or was it just kind of like navigating blindly? And of course, this question goes to you as well. I mean, before you got into stripping, like, did you talk with anyone too? Was there anyone there that you knew that was able to give you advice in the beginning? I'd love to hear about if there is even that perspective.
Yeah, so I did my research. I watched some TED Talks and I just read some forums online and paid attention to different people's Twitters. So yeah, I did a little bit of research just to make sure it was something that was safe and ethical for me to go into.
And then for me, when it came to specifically the industry, adult film industry, when I was reached out by my previous agent, I was a little nervous at first because I was thinking like, what if these are just some guys in their basement trying to like fuck me over? So I actually like
Mm-hmm.
looked, into like um the agency website. And then I also was looking at the performers. I clicked on their personal sites. I saw that like on Twitter that they had, we're represented by this in their bio. So I was like, okay, this is legit. Also showed my partner and he was like, yeah, I recognize some of these people. And I was like, okay, then they're real. Okay, they're not fake. So I was like, hey. Um, and then in regards to dancing at the club, actually, I was an undergrad at the time, and one of my friends was like, "Hey, I really need to start doing this." There was something she'd like pay off, and she was like, "Would you mind like coming with me and dancing with me?" It was like winter break too, so I was on campus for winter break for a while. So I said, sure. I just kind of like went for it. I think the reason she felt comfortable asking me to is because I had always I was known for posting promiscuous photos on my social media. So people were already telling me from the jump, you should create a premium Snapchat. You should create like an OnlyFans. Like, and I was always like, not because, like I was afraid or nervous, but because I just didn't know how to navigate that. Like, what does navigating a Snapchat premium look like? How do I even work OnlyFans, so it took me a while, but that was kind of like my first jump, I guess, into like sex work was, yeah, was stripping and going with a friend to be kind of like that support, but it ended up being like, oh, I like the money. I like the vibe.
No, totally. And it's really great to hear that you both like you did your due diligence, and that it's not, I'm not saying, I'm not knocking on anyone that like doesn't do their due diligence. Like, sometimes the opportunity gets presented to you, you just kind of jump both feet in. But like, I think it's really important for those who are listening, because I know there are a lot of you listening that are listening to the show for research, to kind of do your own research and kind of, get someone to try to vet for these companies, for you to get a friend to try it out together, because it can be really scary when you get into the industry and you're kind of navigating blindly by yourself. Like, I remember when I first started being a sugar baby, I like didn't have anyone to talk to. Like, this was like over a decade ago, and like it was still very like hush hush and taboo, and like don't ask, don't tell kind of attitude towards it, versus like it's 2025 now. And I feel like general attitudes, and it also depends on where you live too, is a bit more accepting or slightly more normalized versus the time that like when I first started a long time ago. And I just remember like, first starting and it being super isolating, and that being like, am I doing this right? There's no like how-to guide. Like, there weren't a ton of blogs or TikTok or anything like at the time. So it's glad that we have so many, like we have TED Talks and stuff like that. Now it's great for you to like kind of fall back on that, and for you to make a calculated and a conscientious decision in terms of getting into the work. Because I don't know about you guys, but there are a lot of people that get into the industry and it's not really for them, or they were ill prepared, or are just very green and naive going to the work. Like, we know what this work is, but you don't really know the work part of it until you kind of get there, which can be very overwhelming. Can either of you, and whoever wants to answer first, tell me about like, if you remember like your first time like on set, what kind of emotions were going through your mind? Were you feeling nervous, excited, anxious, scared? I'd love to hear about coming back down a memory lane and taking us back to that time. I'm sure it was very vulnerable at that time as well.
I
Yeah.
feel like
Go
whatever
ahead. Yeah, I was just like, yeah. Go ahead.
um so with my first couple scenes, the company that I shot with is known for usually shooting new girls, so like they really like spoil the fuck out of you. Like I remember thinking, because I was like, it was my first trip was actually out to LA, and I remember thinking like, holy shit, I'm in this nice mansion in like Beverly Hills. I'm getting a fat check. I'm gonna buy a phone, first off, a new phone. I remember thinking like, I'm a rich bitch. I'm a rich bitch. But then I also quickly realized after doing multiple trips that like, wow, there's actually a lot of money that also goes into this. I need to like invest in myself. I was the type of person who never really got their nails done. I never really did my hair. I was pretty expressive, but I wasn't like necessarily high maintenance. I was very low maintenance. I still to a certain degree am, but I realized that there's just certain things you need done for a set. You know, you're selling an image essentially of yourself, a fantasy. So I was like, oh shit. So that was definitely a learning curve for me, and also a kind of financial realization that that's something that I had to kind of put money into. But I think that I really lucked out with like my first couple scenes, kind of since they work with specifically only really new girls, that they were really there to kind of tell me and show me, okay, this is what it's going to be like. But also, just so you know, going forward for scenes, we provide this, but we don't know if every other company and sets provide this as well. So just wanted to let you know. So
Mhm.
it was a really great experience. I wasn't really like nervous because they wanted more of like the amateur, the newish kind of. I didn't have too much pressure put on me. They did want me to keep in mind certain things, but I followed direction pretty well, so I wasn't as nervous. But yeah,
Nice. Willow, what about you? What was your first experience like?
It was pretty much the same. My first experience went really well. I mean, I was just ready to dive in head first and really just immerse myself into the industry. So I felt super confident and was excited to be on camera and just really show off my skills that I thought I had.
That you do have, but I'm sure,
But yeah,
like,
that I do.
there's so much that goes into it, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
No, yeah, no, I hear you. And like, Ameena, you were mentioning like, oh, well, like I'm a rich bitch now. I got this bad check. Like, hell yeah, I'm rolling in the dough. But how humbling was that in terms of like, oh, there are other financial obligations that we need to think about. Having the discipline, financial discipline to not want to throw all your money away and really think about how to reinvest this in your business. Did either of you really go through that realization at some point? I see some nods. I'd love to hear from you
No,
guys.
for sure. Whenever I started this, I thought to myself, like, I'm being so vulnerable and opening up myself so much to the world that years down the road, I want to have something to show, something to prove to myself for it. So by not blowing my money and spending it all and being able to invest in my future is something that has helped keep me saving my money.
Smart,
one
very
one
smart.
100%. Like going off what Willow was saying, like I feel like I was a little bit lucky in the sense to when I joined the industry, I was already sorry, my dog. I was already kind of like working like building up like my savings a little bit. So I used a lot of that for my initial trips. The first scene that I ever had, they flew me out. So they covered that. But going forward for my, the next scenes, if I ever wanted to work, I was making a lot of initial trips at first to Florida. I had to cover that. I had to cover stay. And it wasn't until I was around other girls in the model house who came in with basically kind of like nothing. And they were telling me like, shit, like my money's going out the door. I said, oh shit, like I'm kind of only lucky because I started a little bit of savings right now, but this can very quickly run out. I need to be on top of it. And I'm not going to lie, it's been a lot of trial error. I don't really think I got it down until more so middle of last year because I had a really difficult time trying to figure out, well, how can I divvy up my money in the right way? There's a lot of business costs that I need money towards. There's essential needs like rent and like food, and then obviously I also want to treat myself, and so my mom actually is somebody who helps me like financially like divvy up my money. And ever since she started helping me with that, which has been like probably like a year and a half, like it's really made the difference for me. I've been able to achieve a lot of my own like goals, like renting a home like for like the first time, and making sure that like I have a certain amount in savings, which I also was inspired a lot actually by Willow and how she was handling her money. I was like, okay, I need to lock in. And I told my mom my goals, and she really helped me get there. But it took a lot of discipline, and that's something last year I really had to learn. That was really difficult. But once I kind of locked that down, I mean, I'm still in the process of locking it down and practicing. It really helped me get to where I want to go and feel secure. And like Willow said, I want to be able to show for it. So it's thinking about things like, okay, this year, one of my goals is opening a Roth IRA. I want to be able to make sure I'm
Good.
being smart with my money. So that way, years down the line, I'm not like, fuck, where did all the money go? So.
Hells
Mhm.
yeah. Willow, do you have something to add to that too? Because I mean, Ameena was inspired by you, so I'd love to hear, how
Yeah,
you were able to treat that.
that's awesome. Yeah, no, I mean, everything that she's saying is exactly what I've been doing too. It's just really investing my money. So in the future, if and when I retire, I'll be set.
Yeah, super, super freaking smart. Also, I can't believe I haven't asked this question yet, but like, how did you guys meet? And also, how did you get into your current living situation? Sorry, I like totally forgot to ask that question.
We met on set. We had a scene together.
Nice.
Uh,
Yeah.
we just
And
been like that since.
I secretly was, well, I don't know, maybe it wasn't secret to other people, maybe it was secret to Willow, but I was like already a huge fan of Willow. So I was really definitely excited by the time we got to work together. Like I always thought she was so cute, like had great energy. So it was even more amazing when we started to hang out for me to be like, oh my God, and she's actually like really fucking cool. And yeah, from
Oh,
there, like just became best friends. So I got super lucky.
yeah.
Aw, that's really sweet. I mean, who
And
approached who? Like, how did you come into the whole like? Okay, do you want to try like hanging out, or do you want to like live with me? Like, what do you like? What do you think about that? Who approached who in that situation?
with the whole hanging out, the first time we hung out, we went to like a dance class together. I like asked if she wanted to go to a dance class, and we also like went out to eat. I remember. So yeah, we were just doing things outside of work together, and with the whole living situation, it wasn't until we were friends for like a year, and I started to do more LA trips. Is that like we just kind of it just kind of happened naturally. I feel like.
Yeah. No,
Um,
100%.
mhm.
I was literally gonna say the same thing where I feel like it happened naturally, and like Willow's really good at coming up with kind of like things to do. Like she's a really good like initiator. I think like I struggle when it comes to people like, okay, trying to figure out what to do. And I love little adventures like that. Like I love taking like dance classes. I love like going out. We were both really big eaters, like not just also in the industry, but also like food wise, like we're both big foodies. We love to eat. We love to try new things, and I think that that was really awesome for me because sometimes it's hard to find people who like to do stuff outside of just partying. And she
Hmm.
has a lot of just similar interests of mine, so it was really great that like she initiated that because I was like, I would love to do that, like So yeah.
That's really cute too. I mean, it's good that you. I mean, both of you seem like you guys like have like similar energies, but also like very complementary to each other, which I think is so key, especially when you're gonna be living with each other. I mean, talking about we'll go into the whole like topic of space now. I'm talking about physical space first of all, so you're sharing a place together. I've had a roommate before in the past, and that was an interesting experience. I've only ever had one roommate in my life, and it was an interesting experience for sure. Very grateful for that friend to have been around for when I needed her. But there's like a thing with boundaries and like ensuring your own privacy, and trying not to tiptoe on each other and stuff. I mean, how do you guys share the space, and also like how do you maintain your own personal boundaries in your living space, because living space is also a workspace for you folks too, right? Being in the industry, if you're going to go live with your fans, if you're going to be camming or streaming or anything like that, like so for me, I actually like to have separate, like a completely separate area from where my partner like does his stuff. Like I just need separation. I don't really want people coming into my space. I'm not sure if it's the same thing for you guys, but I'd love to hear a little bit about your perspective there.
I think what really helps with us is that we're both very easygoing.
Mm-hmm.
And we both respect both of each other's space. So I can tell if she needs time to herself, I'll leave her be, or, we're just, yeah. I think key is we're both very easygoing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
That's
feel like
definitely
I think
helpful.
yeah, like very easy to like live with, because I think that also something I really like is like Willow's always told me like never be afraid to like speak up and communicate, because I know that there have been times like in the past just in general where I have people pleasing tendencies, you know what I mean? So I might not always like speak up. So she's always telling me like don't ever be afraid, to speak up and stuff like that. And because of that, it makes it very easy, that open line of communication. I think that's like the biggest thing when you're living with people, like them, like being able to have that open line of communication, like being receptive. And she's really like helped with that and helped me kind of like grow in that sense. And I
Mm-hmm.
love living with her. I mean, because we can go and be like, let's go get our nails done together. Like, I don't have to go do it alone. Or like,
Yeah.
yeah, or even with like the lives, like we'll do our lives and customs together, and a lot of people love seeing us together. So it makes it so easy when we're together, because we're like, yes, now we can do fun things together, we can make money together,
Right.
etc.
Yeah. And I honestly, I personally don't like being alone. So it's nice to have like a little partner to do things with.
I love that. That's so fun to hear. Like you being able to work together. Your fans are also used to seeing you guys together as well. But of course, I'm sure there's going to be some time where you both need some downtime. You're going through some shit or whatever, or like it's just been a hard day. We all have had hard days too. How are you able to communicate that to each other to be like, hey, like I love hanging out, and like we're so used to hanging out together. But how are you able to communicate like, hey, I just need a minute to myself, or hey, I actually just want to do this by myself without making any awkward energy? Everyone has a different approach, so I'm just curious how you guys do that.
I
We just tell each other straight up.
Yeah,
I
like,
like
and
that.
plus, like, I think because, like, not only have we been friends now for a minute, but we've been like, we've been together so often where I think we notice each other's like, kind of like tidbits. Like, she knows, for example, that like I'm not as much of a early riser, and so like sometimes, like, if I'm getting up in the morning, she'll just know, like, if I'm like, oh, I'll tell her like I might need a minute, or I just need to lay down for a little bit, and then like she'll totally like understand. Like, I think that we start to recognize each other's habits, and then from there, also have that open line of communication. But because yeah, we're just around each other so much, I think that we start to realize, okay, like for example, I know like with Willow, like there might be a time like if she's like hungry or tired, okay, it's about time if we're outside to wrap this up. We need to go home so like, she can like decompress and stuff like that. And then likewise, like she's just noticed tidbits about me where I'm just like, yeah, I need to like be in bed now. I don't really want to stay long at this party anymore or something. And I might just need to go. I might be going straight to bed, or I need to watch a show, or yeah.
Hi, it's Carly David, founder of PS Group, marketing agency for sex workers by sex workers. We're here to give you the tools you need to stand out. From slick websites to next level marketing strategies, we want to turn your fans into loyal customers. Our fees are project based, no commissions, no percentages. We believe you should keep the rewards of your hard work. So if you're serious about taking your brand to the next level, visit us at sexworkmarketing.com. Say hello. We'd love to talk to you.
communication is so key, and that's just for any kind of relationship, whether you're friends, whether it's a partner, whether it's working partners as well, like your colleagues. I mean, shifting the focus to the professional setting. So say if we are on a shoot, how are you able to communicate your needs on set when you are needing a minute to yourself and you are needing time to just decompress for a minute, or if you're just like, I'm not, yeah, I need a bit more space right now, or if you're not driving with a performer on set? Like, I'd love to hear about this perspective as well.
To be completely transparent on my end, that's something I'm still practicing and working on. There's been days where I've gone onto set and I'm either just I've had a really hard week, I've had a really difficult time, or even like recently I'm like working with like, like a friend I fell out with, and I'm just like, okay, I take those moments I think in private though. I'll go to the bathroom, I'll do what I need to do. I don't necessarily like speak up because I'm still trying to figure out what that looks like on set, what that looks like for
Mm-hmm.
me, in a way that keeps set like harmonious. Yeah, is that the word I'm looking
Yeah.
for? And collaborative and good vibes while also stating kind of my needs. Luckily, though, there hasn't been that many times on set where I feel like completely in distress. But the times that I have, I've spoken then to my agent post about it. And then from there, a conversation happens. But it's something that I'm still working on. I feel like I'm somebody who's like known to be presenting as like super like bubbly, super like So sometimes I try to figure out, okay, like when can I also be able to just like sit, because it's very social work, like we're
Mm-hmm.
socializing on set, you know what I mean? And sometimes it can be a lot, but sometimes I just find my own little space and I just, go nonverbal. And I think people are pretty understanding. They do the same thing. But I try to find little moments, I guess, especially if it's a long day, for me to take those little moments to just kind of like, okay, I'm going to be by myself right now so I can continue to do the great work that I need to do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What about you,
No,
Willow?
100%. Yeah, if I feel the need to say to myself, I just get on my phone and scroll. So I pretty much do what I feel like I need to do in the moment, in order to stay 100% in the moment on set.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, staying in the moment on set and, like, being professional and having these professional obligations to your jobs. Is it easy, or maybe that's not, I don't want to do a yes or no question, but like navigating the industry and trying to remain professional on set when you have things going on in your head, or, Ameena, you mentioned like you might have had a falling out with somebody as well. How do you maintain that professionalism on set, and how are you able to kind of stay sane in that situation as well, without, like, you have to stay in character, obviously, but also like you're kind of like dying inside. How do you find that balance in terms of like, okay, I need to do my job, but I also, this is a really difficult time for me. Those can be tricky times. How do you face those challenges like that?
Yeah, so like even taking one of the other days, for example, in which I had worked with like that friend I fell out with, I didn't expect to have so many like big emotions kind of arise. So I just like took moments in between like the set to just kind of like, yeah, like what was like be on my phone or just kind of like tell myself like, well, the scene's going really well, like I'm happy that like, she's acting professional and that everyone on set like is giving us like our kudos and how great we are. But I will say that it's more so afterwards is where I pour back into myself. So when I went home, I just felt like, I think because of all the trying to maintain, just a not like a happy face, but just kind of like not expressing those big emotions. I needed to immediately decompress. I needed to do things that would feed me dopamine and you know what I mean, and make me happy. So I told my partner like, look, I need to like pop an edible right now, eat a steak. I love steak. So I'm like, can we just, I know this is so random, but can we skip the gym today? Can we go to my favorite steakhouse while I'm like blasted out of my mind and just do this? And he is so awesome, so amazing. So he was like, yeah, of course. So I immediately was so happy. We were listening to our favorite tunes in the car on the way there. We were like eating my favorite steak, and like it just meant the world to me, and I had a good night's sleep. So I think that I find ways, especially once I get home, okay, how can I decompress? And it helps too when I come home and like my dog's happy to see me and I'm like, oh my God, yay. So just all of that kind of fine, good support, yummy food, yummy vibes with like weed just helped me kind of reset in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is such a great transition for like, the need for self-care, the need for you to de-stress, decompress, relax. Willow, I'd love to hear like, if you had a bad day at work or anything, or I mean, even just a bad day in general and you need your space, like how do you take care of yourself?
My favorite way is to vent to a friend, really talk things off my mind, or taking a bath, going to get a massage, or just simply just laying in my bed and not doing anything is my favorite way too.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes, definitely. So we've talked about like physical, personal space for you guys. We've also talked about professional space, being on set too. But of course, being at home, being online, and having your fans access to you in this content creator world that we're navigating through. That's another thing because there's a little bit of an infiltration with fans getting to really want to know the real you and just get to know your personality behind the scenes. A bit of more of like casual approach versus just like we're on set, we're all done up, we're just chilling like this. Talk to us about you know, how to remain intimate with your fans in the online space, but also being able to maintain and keep a distance from your fans too. Because I don't know about you, but I need some kind of separation between my fans and like myself.
Yeah. For me, I love showing my appreciation back to people who love my work. So, it always feels good just talking to my fans and showing them that I appreciate their love for me. Um, as far as keeping a distance, I just, I give myself time to respond. So if I'm not in the mood to respond right away, I just give myself that space to get back to them.
hmm Yeah. I mean, how's your fans like received that from you when they're like, "Oh, I need a minute for myself," or like, "I'm gonna not be posting for like a day or two. Like, I just need to be offline. I need to like touch some grass." Like, have they
Yeah.
generally been responsive with that?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. For the most part, I've had super understanding and sweet fans. So I haven't necessarily had any issues with um, them knowing that I need some time to myself.
Mm-hmm. Amina, what about yourself?
I would say, for me, like I feel like one of the things that I do feel like I excel at is the connecting to my fans in the sense to where like I feel like I'm very authentic online. And it's funny because I actually wanted to do the opposite. I initially wanted to have this whole brand and be super mysterious and like ooh elusive and cool. But I'm silly, I'm goofy, and I also like to yap, obviously, a lot. And so I'll just be like, you'll see on my story, those little tiny dots at the top just get smaller and smaller. I'm like, oh my God. So I'm constantly kind of like sharing like my thoughts and like things that I am interested in. Like, for example, I'm like a huge nerd. So I'm always talking about like anime that I'm watching or movies that I'm into and stuff. And so because of that, there are like fans that are like, oh my God, like I had no idea, in addition to like me just thinking you're sexy, that you like also love the same things that I do, and it becomes like a really great connecting point. But I do know that like the first kind of year that I was in the industry, I was messaging like some fans back, like on Instagram or Twitter and stuff like that. And I kind of realized that like it's already hard for me to like text back people in general, like people in my life. Like I take forever to get back to like other performers, to just like people in my life. And then I didn't want to also have like fans in the mix then in my DMs, and that just add another stress, because I already get stressed when I see all the DMs I have not answered. So I was like, respectfully, everyone, like if you're a fan, like I'm going to just have to transition more to talking to you on OF, because there would be people like on my social media who were still on my OF as well, but they would want to swipe up on my story and respond. I'd say, I'd rather you now going forward just, I'm going to keep it to the OF. Like I can't, I'm spreading myself too thin. Like I already don't respond to people and I don't want to feel some type of way, but I know that OF, I'm consistent at, I will get back to you for sure. So that's kind of like high creative distances. I was like realizing I was kind of like, wait, answering on other platforms. So I'm just like, no, we're going to keep it to OF.
Hells yeah. And we want to get paid for that too. So
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. I mean, like talking about fans and, making that transition, making that switch, be like, oh, actually, I'd like to revert you over to my paid platforms. I'm sure that you've probably gotten some like, oh, but I've been already talking to you here for so long and blah, blah, blah. Like, do you ever get fans, especially in those beginning times, in terms of like, them trying to push back, them being disappointed, them trying to guilt trip you or whatever, or them trying to negotiate with you? How did you deal with that and without being a complete pushover, without being wanting to like people please? And if you totally have in the beginning, like I was like that too. I think we were all kind of like that at one point when you first started, but having to have that transition to move them over to your paid platforms, how did those conversations go? Because I'm sure there's a lot of people listening to you like, oh, well, I started off like this. You got to start somewhere. But now, like, it's getting to be too much. Like, how were you able to navigate that? And did you ever get to see those fans on your paid platforms after all?
Yeah, like I feel like actually when it came to talking about transitioning, like, hey, like I'm only now gonna talk to you on OF, like I think a lot of them like were really understanding. I think the only issue I've ever had to deal with, yeah, with fans trying to push boundaries is when sometimes fans try to negotiate prices with me or try to go like extremely low. And that's where I
I
do
hate
get a little like sassy. I'm like, look, like when you go buy that PS5, you're not over here negotiating, you know? So,
Yeah.
and I will
Mhm.
always say this too whenever a fan's like, well, I'm your biggest fan, da 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 da. Da. I'm like, okay, then show me that support can be tangible. I need to see that. So if you're claiming that, then be about it. You know what I mean? Then you won't have a problem talking to me on my paid sites. You won't have a problem then paying like the price that I set, you know what I mean, for like my customs. Because I know I can speak in my own experience that when I'm a huge fan or supporter of like somebody, I respect their business, you know what I mean, as well. So I'm
Mhm.
making sure to like I've never once like when I go to cons, for example, myself to go to like anime cons, for example, and I'm going up to the vendors, I'm not over here trying to haggle them on their artwork. You know what I mean? I'm paying
Right.
full price because I respect the work that they put into it. I respect them as a person and I truly value them.
Mhm.
Yeah. Willow?
Yeah, everything that you're saying, I mean, is like 100% what I think when it comes to that. I thankfully have also too have had very supportive fans.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime, I need to put something into place or a rule or how I go about things, they've been pretty responsive about it. And if they don't like it, they leave. But I'd rather have people in my
Yeah.
corner that support and understand my work.
Yes. Yes, yes to all that. Because honestly, the fighting between like the constant back and forth, the freaking haggling, negotiating shit, like honestly, like in my experience, those are not going to be one, either a paying customer or they're going to be like a one time thing. They're going to be on your paid platform for like 1 month and they're trying to get some sale thing or whatever. And then they'll disappear and then they actually won't even hang out for long. And that's not really the people we want. Right? You
Yeah,
actually want
exactly.
people that will support you and will want to be there and want to buy your content and all that stuff too. And at least that's been my experience. Like, well, we don't want you here anyways. So
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, 100%,
Yeah.
100%.
I mean, shifting the conversation again towards community and support. I know we asked at the top of the episode, talking about the space needed for actual support in this industry. We talked in the beginning of the episode in terms of like, I mean, you had a friend that went with you with dancing. Willow, you were able to seek out resources before you got into the industry. What is that looking like for you both now in terms of support from the community? Even if you both were having a day or whatever, or you're kind of navigating through some shit, you being able to like live with each other and like, kind of lean on each other is really nice to have. Because I mentioned in the beginning, like, this work can be completely isolating at points. I'd love to hear just your take and your opinion on, like, what what you need from the industry now that you are both well established at this point in your careers, and how different that looks from when you first started years ago.
I feel like it's still the same. I mean, I still
Mm.
need my friends and a supportive agent.
Yes.
So yeah, my needs are still the same when it comes to reaching out and needing someone to talk to, especially like talk through whenever I'm going through things. Um, yeah, so it hasn't really changed for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that for me, I think when I first started, it was more like I need you to kind of like push for me and like tell these companies, that like, yeah, like Will was saying with my agent, like I want you to push for me and get me in the door with like some of those companies. I also like wanted resources and support when it came to like figuring out stuff like LLCs and tax. That's where I did lean on like performers on. Like I wanted to listen to everybody and hear what they had to say about like, okay, how important is it to get an LLC versus like an S corp, or who do you go to for your taxes and stuff like that. And then now it's more so like I want you to, yeah, continue like pushing me, but I also want to feel advocated for, by
Mm,
both like performers and my agents. Like if something's gonna go down or I feel like disrespected, or even just like if somebody, I don't know, I don't think I really have this too often, but let's just say like a director's unsure whether or not to shoot me. I want to know that like my agents and other performers are like, nah, like Amina's really great, especially because I have worked hard. I can understand if it's like something where I'm unreliable, or I'm not, like, I don't know, I'm like, fuck you every time I come to set or something. But because I'm not, and I really do try to put in like the work, I just want to know that behind the scenes I'm advocated for. And from what I've been hearing, it seems like that's happening. It's such a huge compliment when I get to set and I hear like, Willow's been speaking super highly of you, or this director's been super speaking super highly of you, or like, or my director telling me, or not my director, my agent telling me, hey, like they really need like a new lead for this film and we really pushed you because we believe that you can do it. And I can, and I'm more than capable. So I guess I really want that. Um and I want grace and patience too. So that way if there are like some days, or there is a week in which I'm like, I'm sorry, I need to take off, there's a lot going on, that they can trust me and know that, that's something that I need.
mhm,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is, experience in the industry, not necessarily like years of experience and stuff like that, but like building the reputation that you are a reputable person, a reliable person that people can count on, that you people will have a pleasant working experience with. I think that's really important. How are you both able to kind of build on creating a good reputation and, like being enjoyable and being a fun person to work with on set? Because unfortunately they're just, people have bad days, yes, but there's also people that are actually just notoriously bad to work with. how, how do you again try to maintain this good reputation and have people coming back to you, be like, and recommending that you're great to work with? I'd love to hear about that too.
I think just having like a positive, bubbly attitude, just showing that you want to be on set and showing that you want to be there, putting in 100% into your work. And yeah, just simply being reliable, showing up on time, communicating. Yeah, I think it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
No,
Shouldn't be hard,
100%.
right?
It shouldn't be.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think that one of the biggest things, this is like sometimes something that I've in the past more so, I would notice new girls would do when I was new too, that I was like, oh my God, why would you do that? Like, is, how much longer is this gonna take? Or like,
Uh, yeah, that's not
yeah,
okay.
like,
Oh no.
been such a long day, and like for me, and I can I can understand if maybe it's feeling like a long day for you, but that's something more so you keep to yourself. Like, I don't think in any work environment it's really appropriate probably to be like saying that. But also, I know for me, maybe it's because I've had a little taste after like being an undergrad of what I could have been in. I just feel very fortunate because on set, let's just be honest, even if it's a long day, you don't have to be on the whole time. There's a lot of sitting
Mhm.
and waiting for like just crew to set up, for them to like make sure they're finding their good angles for people, other performers who are practicing their lines. So it's not like you're really having to do much the entire time. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
I would rather honestly have a day that's long, but I can like be sitting there and I get to like be dressed. I don't have to really lift a finger besides having the sex part and doing like dialogue. And those parts usually are the fastest, honestly, on set. So I see it as like, thank God I'm not, in a corporate 9 to 5 where I'm in an office and, have like, my boss telling me I have this deadline that I need to get something in by. And because of that mindset, I think, and because I just know too that I'm surrounded by people that make me happy too. I think that I just like speak on that too, like, oh my God, like
Yeah.
great job, you guys, and all that kind of stuff.
No, for sure. I think it's yeah,
Mhm.
it's super important. Whenever I'm on set, I dedicate my day to my work. So I'm not trying to rush anyone or rush the process. I put in my mind that I know I'm here for the day to work and nothing else matters until I'm done. So
Yes, that's such a good attitude to have, honestly, because some people, again, they're like, "Can we go?" Like, yeah. Like it's so bad. It doesn't even matter if you're in the adult industry or not. That's such a freaking terrible attitude to have, no matter what kind of work environment that you're in, right? So, it's totally sound advice here. I mean, flip side though, if you are in the situation where you are going to be working with someone, say this person has been problematic and doesn't have the greatest reputation, some things come out on Twitter and stuff later, like, oh, this person has been like super disrespectful or whatever. How do you navigate that kind of space? Because that can be tricky, because again, one, you want to be professional, two, it's your job, this is work. But I would also love to hear like how you're able to, one, if you choose to speak out, how do you delicately do that, but also remain to keep secure ties in the industry, but also like, also advocate for yourself, be professional. I'd love to hear how best to navigate those tricky situations.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think there's a difference between like harm and beef. And I think it's like, it's one thing if I'm hearing somebody be like, oh, I had like a fight with this person, and like, kind of like how I was on set with the person, like, oh, we just don't get along anymore. And I'm like, damn, okay. Um, Luckily, I think for me, I've had the experience where most of the people who are causing harm within the industry are just naturally weeded out. Like, I don't see them as often, like,
Mm-hmm.
anymore. Like, they're just not usually on pro sets. They're doing still content work, and because
Mm-hmm.
I feel like content is a little bit easier in the sense to where I'm like, okay, well, I can pick and choose. You know what I mean? Who I'm working with. The nice part is that like we do, obviously get like a no list, so we can say like, hey, we don't want this person on like our list. And if I feel like that person is like, and someone I'm not really down to work with, then I'll just tell my agent, and they're like super understanding. Even like I've been on set before where even if I feel like the one of the talents just being like super disrespectful to like me or somebody else, and I'm like, okay, they're immediately like on my like no list, because that's another thing,
mhm.
like on set you shouldn't be making anyone feel some sort of way. I can understand, like, I'm sorry, I'm very understanding. I think when, like Willow said, like if people need a little bit more time to get ready for things and stuff. But there has been a situation on set where, maybe male talent, like a male talent once told me like, oh, well, I'm having a hard time staying hard because your pussy's too tight. I was like, that doesn't make any sense. He immediately went on my no list, and the directors even noticed that and were like, yeah, that was weird. So like I said, like
Yeah.
earlier, like it just becomes kind of like a conversation. And then from there I make a decision, okay, this person is not gonna be like on my like yes list at all.
Mm. What about you, Willow?
Yeah, having a no list is super important. What came to mind to me though is I had one instance where I had made content with this one couple and they didn't send me the raw footage of the content that we made. They only sent me an edited version with their logo in the corner. And I had
Oh my
told them,
God.
hey, that's not how content works. I tried to communicate with them and tried to get to the bottom of it with them, but they were not agreeing or communicating with me at all. So I made the decision to call them out on Twitter. And it wasn't to like start any drama, but it was just some more so just warn people against their harmful behavior, towards
Mm-hmm.
me and potentially doing it to other people in the industry. So I think just speaking up against people's wrongful actions, and not necessarily making it drama, but just to make people aware of what you were getting into with certain people is important.
Oh my gosh,
100%.
that's so important.
Because
Sorry,
I want to
continue.
know. I like seeing on Twitter. 'Cause
Yes.
I need to know, like, who do I need to stay away from? Like, I don't want any surprises. Like, I don't want to like fuck around and find out. So,
No,
Hmm.
totally. And that's not a collaboration anymore if you're not even agreeing to the terms that you were supposed to. Like, hey, I need those raw files so I can, sell this myself and like, sell this to my fans and whatever. But like, it takes a certain amount of like bravery to call people out, especially in a public platform like Twitter slash X, whatever you want to call it. I mean, how was that received? Because like, one, as being a part of this community, we need to know that about like people that are being problematic in this industry, because obviously we don't want to be able to work with them. We don't want this experience, your experience, to happen to another person. What was the response of that? Because Twitter can be such a crazy place. It's a
Yeah.
little bit unhinged, but yeah, I'd love to hear like, the aftermath of that. And did you get your files finally, or did they just block
I
you?
didn't. No, I didn't unfortunately get
Mm.
my files. They blocked me, but they also have been outed by the industry. I have not seen anybody work with them. I haven't even seen anything about them. So it was received very well to other people. Like people took note of it and even called them out more for it. So yes, it
Good.
did not end for them. Yeah.
No, this has been great. I mean, this whole conversation has been super eye opening and also just really, really great to hear about both of your unique perspectives when it comes to space in the industry and, being professional, trying to exercise your own personality outside of the work as well, outside the industry. But there are a few questions that did come in from the audience as well. So I feel like it might be time for that as well. So this one did come from a fellow sex worker in the community. So I'm just going to read this out. This person writes in: community and supportive needs often cross pollinate from one corner of sex work to the other, yet may present differently depending on your form of work. Two questions here. What are your community and individual needs regarding support look like? And how may that be different from other forms of sex work?
Hmm.
I think, well, if I'm going to speak specifically about the adult film industry, I guess, I think my needs is that I just want to be listened and heard, and I want to be taken seriously when it comes to feeling iffy, maybe about like certain situations. So for example, like I think that being in this industry, because of how visible I am, I have people pulling at me from different directions. They want me to do this, they want me to do that, and etc. And there's a lot of people who have wanted me to be on board with maybe just I don't know, certain projects or certain like collabs, but sometimes I'm not always ready to be on board for many different reasons. Maybe I'm just tired. Maybe I just don't like someone in that particular group, or maybe there's some like red flags that I feel, but I'm not sure why I feel those. Like I'm picking up on something, and I feel like this project isn't going to be as collaborative or good. And I just think that when I say those things, I want people to just understand here and just like drop it at that, as opposed to like pushing. So I think I just want to be heard when it comes to like my needs, whatever that may be. I think that's just something that's really big for me right now. Especially because like for example, Will and I, like, we're asked so many times to be a part of like certain maybe like YouTube appearances, like what are those 20v1s and stuff like
Yeah.
that. I think that
Yes.
like for me, like I just want to be able to kind of, one, I want to hear from other people and know like, hey, is this like the best move to make? Because people are always going to have so many different things to say, and I want to hear like raw honest truth, and then I want to be heard. I want to be able to make the most informed smart decision that I can for me, and then from there have people support it. So I think that's just the biggest thing for me, especially with us being so visible, and I don't want my image being used in any sort of like just random way. Is just
Yes.
really important for me. And that's different, I would say, in regards to like other forms of sex work, because my image isn't something I have to worry about as much when it comes to like either dancing or even like escorting, etc. I just think the visibility of content creation, stuff like that, I it's just really important for me of how I'm going to be perceived, and what it's going to look like, and how they're trying to have me perceived and everything.
Right. Right. Yeah, because with like YouTube, it's like YouTube channels and like all these podcasts with these like super crazy viral clips. Like honestly, sometimes I just and like I talked to with Laura Desiree about this, talking about like how actually that can be super damaging to someone's career, because that content's going to live there for freaking forever, and they're just waiting for the viral moment, and the hosts and stuff they go unscathed, but then you have the rest of the internet and everyone attacking you for this stupid quote that you said that they're trying to sensationalize, which I really I don't believe in that stuff. I think it's so damaging to our workers and our community, but that's
Right.
my hot take. Yeah. Willow, what about you though? I'd love to hear your answers too. If you have anything to add.
I don't have anything to add. I mean, everything that Amina said is 100% what I think when it comes to that. It's just being
Mm-hmm.
heard, being able to have a voice, especially when things get hard and you need someone to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Fun. Yeah, no, really, really great. Sound advice here. The next two questions are from a fan, from X as well. So I guess we'll do some rapid fire questions here. So this person asked, list some of your pros and cons of being in the industry.
Pros is that you have the freedom to move how you want throughout the industry. And you get to be like the boss of your own schedule. You get to travel and meet a lot of different interesting new people. I would have to say cons is knowing how to manage your time. Um,
Mm,
that can be it's tricky if you're not used to doing that. Um, hmm, I can't think of any other cons. But
that's a good
I
thing.
love my work. Yeah, I love my work.
Yeah, just echoing off like what Willow said, like I feel like um for me in that aspect, like my pro and con is the same. Like, ooh, I'm my own boss, but damn, I'm my own boss. Like, fuck,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta make sure to actually like send that custom by Monday, like I said I would. So I think that like just figuring out that balance and really having the discipline is just something that I continue to work on. And then something, but I would say this though, I love, yeah, the flexibility that I have. I love the free time. I like the amount of money I make, because even my mom had pointed out to me, like, there's not a lot of people who can make the money that we make and have the free time that we do. So I feel
Mm-hmm.
super happy. And I also personally just love acting. Um, and I love being on set. I love feeling like kind of like a Barbie doll, like, okay, yes, dress me up for the day, tell me like what you want me to do and be. And then I see it as like a fun little challenge. So that's something I absolutely love about this industry. I think something that I struggle with that is more of like a con is figuring out how social to be, because the social events versus like networking events, they kind of blend together. Sometimes it's like that blurry line of
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, like, is this just for fun, or is this something more like that's considered work? You know what I mean? And that I need to be
Yeah.
there and make sure that I'm showing face to. And as somebody who's like super introverted, and I can feel like, for example, when I went to AVN, and XBiz, like I could feel like after leaving that, oh my God, I need like 2 weeks to just like decompress. Like a lot of the socializing is something that like I think I'm still getting like kind of used to, and how much of it to do that suffices enough for me to be like, okay, like good, you're a good coworker, you're showing up to things you're supposed to be showing up to.
Mm-hmm.
Figuring out that balance is just what I'm trying to figure out. So yeah.
Yes, and especially like conventions, they're so energy sucking. Like you have to be on all the time, especially these fan facing events. It's so tiring. And yes, you definitely need some downtime after that to just like recover. But it's also really tiring too at industry only events like XBiz and stuff too. Like that can also like yes, it's really great and awesome to network and a great opportunity to collaborate and spend that time, but also afterwards like I need a vacation. I need a silent retreat. Like I just need quiet. But yeah, I hear you with that. Can be totally exhausting. Some more rapid fire questions here. Some talent you really want to work with?
Hmm. Tommy King is someone that I've been saying that I want to work with. Um, really just like big booty girls. That's always something that I've always, strived to do. Um, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Um,
Amina?
I I don't necessarily have anyone in particular, but I just do feel like there's a lot of people that I've still yet to work with. Like even some of my own like close acquaintances within like the industry. I'm like, how come I haven't worked with you yet? So honestly, but my dream is to like have or be a part of a very like hot orgy of like some of the hottest performers ever. If I can somehow be in some sort of group scene with Angela White, that would be dope, just because I would really interested to know what it'd be like to be on set with her, because she's been in the industry for such a long time. I would love to like take notes. So yeah, for like
Mm-hmm.
more for like aspiration purposes, I would love to work with people who've been in the industry for like a really long minute and who have kind of been like Hall of Famers. Like, ooh, like I want to
Yeah.
pick your brain.
Right.
Yeah, she's iconic, isn't she? It's just amazing.
Yeah.
What what advice would you give anyone who's thinking about joining the industry?
Do your research.
Hells
Know what you're
yeah.
getting into. Yeah, know what you're getting into. Set goals for yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
also know your boundaries.
Yes. Yes to all that.
Yeah, echoing off Willow, like really know your boundaries, because like you will have to advocate for yourself in multiple ways as a business person, your personal boundaries, and also like even how much you want to do. Like for example, when it comes to me and content creation, like I do a lot of more solo work. So I have to be able to advocate for myself and be like, I know a lot of people are asking me for to do like collabs, but like no. Also just learn like the business side of it, like really get to know like how to do your taxes, what an LLC
Mm-hmm.
is, where you can form your LLC, and really just yeah, understand the financial aspect of it, so that way you get what you can get out of it.
Hells yeah. Yes. Yes, yes. And the last one. Any dream locations you would love to shoot a scene at?
Anywhere tropical, I'm down.
Hells yeah.
I would love to shoot in Italy one day.
Manifest. It'll happen. It'll happen. Well, we made it to the end, guys. This is such a fun conversation, and I know it's probably different than other interviews you've done before, but I really truly enjoyed our time here, and I think you offered some really, really great advice for everyone listening in, and also just perspective too, because I'm sure, like a lot of people might not hear about you talk about this intimate parts of the industry. But before I let you both go, where can we all find you?
You can find me at willowryder.com. On that page, it has all my sites like OnlyFans, all my scenes, everything, my wish list. So yeah, willowryder.com.
Perfect.
And then same for me, AmeenaGreen.com has everything that Willow just listed as well.
Perfect. What are you guys doing later? You guys got to click those links if you're listening. If you haven't even clicked them, go do your thing. Go follow them. Go support. Pay for their stuff. Subscribe. Do all the things that you need to do. For everyone else listening at home, you also have homework from me too. So if you like the show, if you like this episode, if you love all these free resources you get every single week, feel free to rate the show, like and rate the show 5 stars on both Spotify and Apple or wherever you listen to your podcast. That would be super helpful in terms of getting folks to find this podcast as well. We also have, you can also get in touch with me on X. It's Stripped by Sia. And on Instagram, I'm Stripped by Sia Podcast. And if you yourself are interested in coming onto the show, you can pitch me at strippedbysia.com. There is a contact page. You can go ahead and write a fun paragraph. Give me some talking points. I'd love to hear and potentially develop an episode with you. There's so many topics under the sun that we've yet to do, but I'd love to hear from you. Feel free to check that out, strippedbysia.com. And once more, if you do want to support the show financially, you can by joining my Patreon. It's patreon.com/strippedbysia. And that's it for now. We have another great episode coming at you next week, so stay tuned for that. New episodes dropping every single Sunday at midnight Pacific Standard Time, so tune in for that, and I'll see you guys all next week. Thank you so much, Ameena and Willow, for joining us today. I hope you had a fun time on the show. It's great having you guys. Thank you.
That was great. Thank you.